He was an 8-time AFL All-Star. He played his entire career for the Buffalo Bills in the AFL. It's lineman Billy Shaw. How you doing, Billy?
I'm doing fine, thanks.
I look at these numbers here. 8-time AFL All-Star. You block for some great runners, one of them Cookie Gilchrist. I mean, you block for two phenomenal quarterbacks back in the day, and Jack Kemp and Darryl LaMonica. I mean, if it wasn't for you, they wouldn't have the stats they would.
Well, thank you. But there were some other offensive linemen that were mighty good on that line. Yeah, you overlooked OJ. My last year was his first year, so I did get to block for some great guys. Cookie Gilchrist was probably the best football player I ever played with. Not the best athlete, but what a great football player he was.
Well, he used to do the place kicking, right?
He did some, and it was in a pinch, but he did. 1962, he kicked for us, yes.
He was a tough guy. You don't want to mess around with him because he stood up for his principles.
Cookie was one of those rare individuals as far as a football player. He could have played guard because he was our size. He could have played linebacker. He could have played anywhere on the defensive line. Just a phenomenal player, and he took that competitiveness in his lifestyle outside of football. And you're right. You didn't push him around.
Yeah. Now, when you came into the American Football League, was there a big adjustment? Because the AFL was known for its wide open offenses, and here you are in college at Georgia Tech, and I would assume it's a vastly different world.
Well, it was the caliber of the player was certainly different. My situation going to Buffalo was similar to college, because we were not one of those AFL teams that threw the ball. We ran the ball probably 2 out of 3 times. We were more like an NFL team back in that day, and we weren't like the the San Diego teams or the Denver teams, or and later on in Namath's career, the New York teams that threw the ball all the time.
Did you kind of regret not playing in the NFL?
I did not. A quick story. 1960 was my last year in college. My coach was Bobby Dodd. And Coach Dodd, I went to him. The Bills, the AFL, drafted me number 2. I was talking to the NFL, particularly the Dallas Cowboys. They wanted to play me at linebacker, and I never played linebacker. So I went to Coach Dodd and to get his advice, and he told me, sign with the AFL. You're going to be playing a position either on the defensive side of the ball or offensive side of the ball that you are used to, and that's where he thought that my career should be. And I actually signed with the AFL before the NFL draft. Now, the Dallas Cowboys went ahead and drafted me anyway, I think in the 14th round, 184th player picked, thinking that the AFL was going to fold and they would have my rights. But I never, ever looked back. I enjoyed, playing in the AFL, and as time went on, the teams got better, the league got better, and I just enjoyed it.
Yeah. So if you hadn't signed with the Bills, you probably would have been a much higher pick by the Cowboys.
Well, you would think that, but I don't know that for a fact. But we had a lot of conversations, back in the day. Gil Bryant was the gentleman that I was, talking with. So there was that possibility. Of course, I would have never been picked ahead of Bob Lilly, or, who was their first choice, and a great, great, great player. So who knows?
Now, in the huddle, with Jack Kemp as quarterback, could you tell that this man someday would become a politician?
Well, not only in the huddle, because he took command. You you didn't cough or you didn't sneeze in that huddle. But we knew Jack came to us in the latter part of the year of '62, and we knew immediately that he was a different guy. Probably the most intelligent, one of the most intelligent people I've ever been around was Jack. And we knew immediately because his conversation was always geared toward, the political arena. And we knew that he was going to be something special.
Did he get you to politic for him?
He didn't have to. I believed in Jack. At that particular time in my life, I was not a Republican. I was a Democrat. And we never argued about it. But, we talked at length about what one party believed and then the other party believed. And he was an intelligent person.
How does a guy from Natchez, Mississippi, end up at Georgia Tech?
Well, I was born in Natchez, but I was raised in Vicksburg. My parents moved to Vicksburg before I was 2 years old. And my idol in high school or grammar school was a high school player by the name of George Morris. And George Morris was Mr. Football in Mississippi. And George Morris went to Georgia Tech, and he became an All-American. Coach Dodd said that he was the best football player that he ever coached. And I actually followed George Morris. Now, he got into my life while I was in high school, and he led me in that direction. So that's how I got from Mississippi to Georgia Tech.
With the NFL strike, they resolved it last month. There was a lot of talk about the retired players, pensions getting increased. Now I'm hearing they're kind of screwing the retired players. What did retired players get out of this new deal?
Well, we don't know yet. Today was the day that, the retirement benefits were to be rectified. But I just got through reading an email where it's going to be further down the line before we know exactly what's going to happen.
How do they do that? I mean, they negotiate a settlement. The judge said that you guys could be part of the settlement. Carl Eller's in there. And then basically $500 million or whatever they set aside for the retired players. Isn't it that hard to figure out to increase the pensions by a certain percentage with the money that's available?
Well, there's more to it than that. The Burt Bell plan, which all of the pre-93 players are on, there were three options. You could retire early at 45 at a greatly reduced amount. Or it was fully vested at 55. Or you could wait till you were 65 and it was the amount went up drastically, 261.9% to be exact. And we get $250 a month times the number of years you played. So if you took it at 55, $250 times 10 is $2,250. Well, if you wait till you're 65, that number is right at 6,000. If you took it at 45, and I think the amount was 45% of, it was less. It was right around $1,000. and a vast number of the guys took it at 45. They took spousal option, Social Security option. So the numbers that you are seeing published, like $400 a month or $500 a month, is a result of taking it early.
But they convinced a lot of the players to take it early because they said, listen, you're not going to be around at 55. Take the money now.
Well, that did happen. But that's your decision, at that point in time.
Okay.
Personally, I took it at 65 because I was
you're a smart man.
I was in business, and my definition of the word pension was something that I need when I quit working. So I need to maximize it if I possibly can, and I did that with Social Security and with my NFL pension.
Okay. Now, as you said, your last season was O.J. Simpson's first.
O.J.'s,
That couldn't keep you around for another couple seasons? You say, all I got to do is just hit the guy on the other side of the line, and he's through the hole, and I look like a really good offensive lineman.
Well, it just wasn't that simple. You mentioned Natchez, Mississippi, and I had bought a business with my dad after my first year of ball, and it was in Natchez. And my wife and I have 3 daughters, and two of the daughters were in school in 1969, and we did not live in Buffalo. We lived in Mississippi. And to be perfectly honest, the schools were a little more advanced in New York than they were in Mississippi. And it was beginning to have a negative outlook on my children. So the wife and I decided that we weren't going to let football abuse us, and we weren't going to abuse football by playing a couple, 2 or 3 more years just for a paycheck. So we retired on that principle.
Thank you so much for your time, Billy. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you.
I really enjoyed your insight into the pension, the bills. I mean, I learned a lot of stuff today I didn't even know. Everything.
Thanks.
Good. Have a great day.
You
You
too.
too.